in there, so it's not going to matter. It's not like, of course, it is what ends up on YouTube,
Yes.
but Oh
Yes.
man, my allergies are killing me today.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's life in Sonoma County, allergy capital of the world.
Life in Sonoma County, capital of the world, for things that make you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I need a box of tissue sitting by my desk or something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Tom seems to have managed to get me the review.
That's impressive.
What is he doing today? Rock and I'm gonna have to bring it over here and drop it in place. Da, 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 da. Let's see. I need to get rid of you because otherwise I'll play you instead of the review. Oh, we're doing Seventh Day Slumber today.
Okay.
So I wonder if he compares it to tight jeans and puffy shirts.
Probably ripped jeans and plaid shirts, like flannel. I do like their new single though. It's better than previous outings, I think, for them.
Yeah. Well, our interview with him with Joseph will be playing on Monday night for the Broken Record, and he said that this album, I haven't listened to the whole album, like I think we just got it.
Yeah.
But he said that this is a rockier album than they've done in a long time. That they're breaking free of their worshipful stylings and going back to their roots. Because he said apparently Seventh Day Slumber used to be a rock band, like that's how they were founded.
Right.
And so labels kind of, I think they added a couple of worship songs and it ended up selling really well. It's the same story that we've talked about before, where they did a few worship songs and labels said, "Oh, you should do more of that. They sell really well."
Right.
And so now they're getting back to their roots and going rock. And apparently they have an even heavier album planned for this next album after this one. So we'll see how things go.
Interesting. Well, that's even more odd to me because now they're on a label that is kind of odd. Did you guys get one of the postcards too? Although it probably would have gone to Tim. I got a postcard
Yeah,
from
it would have gone
BSR.
to Tim, not me.
Yeah, which was just kind of a, hey, we have these bands on our label. Yay! And it was like Seventh
for
Day
you.
Slumber and Esterlin and a couple of other bands. I'm just like, you guys have almost I say almost everybody. Several people are on their label, of which it looks like from the postcard they only have 5. So maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Just seemed to be artists that were like, you guys were almost a big deal a while back. So, yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. And then some other people are just are new acts that I think are probably okay, but I don't know. I don't understand labels that take bands that didn't work as well from other labels and are like, we can do better. To me, it falls in the same category as when you see a restaurant that is reopening that is like, this used to be a Mexican food restaurant. It didn't work at this location. It shut down for lack of business. Right. We're opening a new Mexican food restaurant under a different name, and it will work here in this location because we'll do it better. I'm just going, yeah, good luck with that.
We had a Mexican restaurant at the corner that had been there for years. I mean, and it was a very popular food joint.
Yeah.
And the owner of the property let the lease expire because he had a buddy who had another Mexican restaurant that he wanted to bring in. So the owner expired the lease.
Yeah.
And so the guys that had been there for, I'm going to say 15 plus years, ended up moving to another location just up the road. And this
Right.
buddy's Mexican restaurant went in. He paid, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in renovations trying to update the building and all of that kind of stuff. The business was
Right.
gone within 6 months.
Yep.
Just didn't. The community said, no, we liked the other place. And
Right.
my neighbor was talking to the guy who owned the other place, and he's like, "Oh, we're so happy here. Brand new building, brand new equipment." You know, he's like, the rent's actually cheaper than it was before, and it's a newer place, so we're getting a bigger audience. He's like, "We're thrilled. We have no problem not being down there anymore."
Right.
So it's like, see you, greedy landowner.
Yeah. That'll do it every time. Well, and plus, I mean, that's just a dumb idea. I can understand if it was a different kind of restaurant, but with it being just the same style of food and the other place being popular, all you're doing is saying, please compare us to the people who were here before that you already like.
Right, right. See, and that's the thing that well, but not only that, it was a matter of, you know, when you have a popular restaurant and you boot it out and bring someone else in, and people find out that the only reason that guy's there is because he's friends with the guy who owns the property. The community's going to be like, yeah, not so much. Not so much. It was Pepe's, Tim, right there on the corner of Sebastopol Road and Stony Point.
Yeah.
Tim's asking which restaurant, so I was telling him. Because Tim used to live just up the road from me a little bit.
Aha.
So we got 3 peeps in the chat room this morning.
Holy.
Yeah.
Holy.
Michael's here, Kirk's here, and Tim's here. Michael's
Nice.
not
Hi,
sure.
Michael.
Michael's not sure how long he'll be here. He's like, my kids might pull me away, so I'm here while I can be.
Should be careful. You should never, ever put kids before the Rock and a Hard Place podcast. This is just not the way things are meant to be.
Yeah. My kids are watching Cars on TV right now.
Very cool. See, I feel so left out. I've still yet to see Cars 2 or Planes, although I heard Planes is kind of lame.
Planes wasn't that great. I mean, if you have kids, they'll love it just because, oh, look,
Right.
the plane is talking, and it's,
Right.
you know, that little engine that could. And then Cars 2 was enjoyable, but I didn't feel like it had the same magic that was Cars 1.
Right.
I mean, Pixar tries really hard to not make the second movie a flop.
Right.
So I won't say it's a flop, but it just, I don't know. To me, it wasn't as endearing as the first movie.
Right.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Michael says the
oh.
podcast helps him stay awake when I listen in the car on my way home after a night shift. Yeah, I don't know how you night shift people manage. Oh, man. I had a job one time working at an office supply store where I had to be to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got off at noon. And so going to bed at like 7 o'clock at night and waking up at 3 to go to work, it was just, oh, my body was so out of whack with that schedule. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You were going to say
When
it
I-
before I was talking?
Oh, they've also revealed the new Christian music Pepsi cans.
With Tim Lambesis on AMP?
Unfortunately not.
No? What?
No.
That's like a great marketing campaign.
I know.
Could make them
I know.
millions.
I know. Have problems with your wife? Get them over with Amped.
Oh,
Your
man.
woman talking back? Amp.
That's right. Oh, what was I was reading through I was reading through a thread online the other day, and it said name an appliance or name a thing that you use that was designed for the opposite sex. And one guy put kitchen.
Oh, wow. 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 If that dude's not single, he will be
He will
for a
be
long
soon.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's like the old comment, you know, whenever the dishwasher stops working, I kick her and tell her to get back in the kitchen. That's a good.
Sick and wrong. Sick-
That's a good way to break a relationship, right there, man.
yeah. Well, back to the Pepsi cans.
Yes, that's what we were talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah. Talk about
little
going south quickly.
A little side note.
Yeah.
Bunny
This
train.
time around, I'm not as impressed with their lineup for the Pepsi cans this time. They have Britt Nicole on Mountain Dew, Casting Crowns on Dr. Pepper, ugh, and Josh Wilson on Diet Pepsi. See, I would be offended if I was the one picked for Diet Pepsi. To me, there's just no good connotations that come
Who's
from
on
being
Diet
associated.
Pepsi?
Josh Wilson. I think he's
Oh.
one of those praise and worship acoustic-y, folky kind
Well,
of
I mean,
guys.
at least it wasn't someone like Mandisa or you
yeah.
know, because I mean, there could be. If you put a skinny person on Diet Pepsi, it's okay. You put a fat person
yeah,
on
he's a
Diet
skinny
Pepsi, it
person, yeah.
becomes an issue.
Right. And then on the actual Pepsi can, it's for King and Country. But I will say this: I do find it kind of
I
cool,
thought
though,
Toby
that
Mac was going to be on a Pepsi can.
that happened last summer.
Oh, that was last summer.
Been around
Okay.
that long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
my guess is that those cans won't be released in my neck of the woods.
Probably not. Although apparently there's going to be 25 million cans, and each can has a free download, I guess, from the artist who's on the can.
Alrighty then.
So that's kind of cool, I guess. I don't
Did you
know.
see that Apple bought Beats?
Yes, I did. Like $2 billion.
Three.
Oh, $3 billion.
$3 billion.
What's one more?
Oh, hey, Tom's in. We now have our fullest chat room ever.
Wow. Hey, guys. And we're talking about Pepsi.
And we're talking about Pepsi and Apple. Yeah, $3 billion for Beats overpriced headphones.
Oh, but that isn't the reason why they bought it.
No, it is. They said they bought
No,
it for
it
the
isn't.
electronics.
No, I heard they bought it for the music delivery service.
The music delivery service was only $500,000 of
Oh.
the $3 billion deal. It was
Oh.
$2.5 billion for the electronics division.
Oh.
So there's something there that they want.
Yeah.
Kirk says sidewalk profits on Diet Pepsi.
Well, he'd be wrong.
Maybe
I'm
that
looking
was
at
maybe that
picture.
was last year's.
I think it was.
You gotta
But anyway,
get with
I
the
don't-
times there, Kirk. Anyhow. Yeah, so
Yes, apparently more than 25 million cans will bear the images of these artists. And tonight in Nashville, Pepsi Mid-America and K-Love Fan Awards revealed the singers and bands chosen.
Wow.
How sad is that?
K-Love.
I'm sorry. That just sounds like the most boring ceremony ever. And now a can of soda.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, appearing now on the Pepsi can. Whoosh. Then the curtain comes up.
The King and Country.
And now on Diet Pepsi. Whoosh. Seriously? and half the audience is going, who?
Who's Josh Wilson?
Who is that?
He's the one who was like the dark horse because he got to be on the Diet Pepsi can and no one really wanted that.
Right. It was kind of like casting lots to determine who was gonna show up on the can.
Maybe they had to campaign for one can or another. Maybe it wasn't just like, oh, the top 4 artists get to be on a can. Maybe it was like you had to say, oh, I want to run for this can. It's like running for a specific office in government.
Well, you could do that, I guess, or you could just say the top 4. You know, number 1 is on Pepsi, number 2 is on Mountain Dew, number 3 is on Dr. Pepper, number 4 Diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
I don't know. Diet Pepsi is a pretty hot seller, though, even though it tastes like garbage.
Yes. Kerosene.
So
my friend.
I love
Kerosene.
seeing people walking down the street with a Diet Pepsi in one hand and a candy bar in the other, as though they cancel each other out.
Or a bag of fries from Mickey D's.
Yeah, that too. I would like the extra large fries, but I would like a small Diet Pepsi, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we should probably think about getting started.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you do the newsy stuff that we talked about earlier, since you're prepped on it. And then we're still on task for our topic today.
What was our topic again? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Did I deadpan that well enough for you?
I had to turn to look at the camera to see what the facial expression was going to be. So, Oh man. Now I didn't bring out any samples.
Oh, neither did I.
Okay,
What's the
good.
point?
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna talk about it.
You.
Let's give them something to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we should probably get started.
Sure.
So let's hit record in a 3, a 2, a 1. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rockin' a Hard Place podcast. My name is Chris Cooner. I'm a DJ with Broken FM. You can check us out online at broken.fm. Man, that music always gets me excited. I love hearing it. That music graciously donated to us from the band Scientist, so be sure to check them out. I believe their Twitter handle is Scientist Music, so just at them and tell them, hey, awesome music for the Rockin' a Hard Place podcast. They'll know what you're talking about. Joining me today, as always, my good friend, my co-host, my compadre, Paul Gibson.
Hey, man. What's going on?
This show?
Yeah, that's right. It is.
All right,
Anyway.
good. I answered correctly.
Word up. All right. So, yeah, this is Paul Gibson. I host the Christian Rock 20 Countdown. And apparently the Christian Music Archive is coming back probably in July. So,
Okay.
I don't know if we'll have enough output to get really good stuff to play on the Rockin' a Hard Place podcast, but maybe if we get some stuff every now and then that's good, maybe we'll have a surprise every now and again. So
I like
don't
that.
know if
We
it'll
can-
be a regular thing, but it could be a reoccurring thing every now and again.
We can put it at different parts of the show so that nobody will know when it's going to come. It'll just randomly pop up.
Ooh, I like it.
You like that? Mm.
I like that. That's nice. That's nice. So, yeah.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, if you want to know more about Christian Music Archive, you can go to christianmusicarchive.com. And if you want to know more about the Christian Rock 20, you can go to thechristianrock20.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, you go.
Cool. Well, we are
Oh,
thrilled
yeah.
to be back again for this episode. I think we're on like number 71 or something
Jay.
crazy like that. I mean, it's this really high number. Michael's daughter Brooklyn would like to say hi to everyone. So hi, Brooklyn.
Hi, Brooklyn.
We'll try to keep it clean if the kids are in the room.
Since this is such a filthy show
right.
every other time.
Maybe I need to shift us to the iTunes explicit tag. Or we could go explicitly Christian.
Oh,
Just start
like
talking
like
Christianese.
those fake parental advisory stickers that Christian rappers did for a while just so they fit in.
Yeah.
want a
Warning:
sticker.
extreme Christian content.
Warning, we are dorks.
That's we want to look like the world, but not be in the world. Oh, we just made her day. How cool!
We just
Yay.
changed the words.
That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness.
And he was ready to rap.
That's he had his hat on backwards, and he's 50. Because that matters, you know. Once you hit 50, you're not allowed to rap anymore. Somebody better tell Dre.
Right.
Somebody had better tell Dre.
They forgot about Dre.
Yeah, they did. Apparently, Apple did not. However,
No.
$3 billion. That number to me is insane. But what's even more insane is the fact that did not even put a dent into Apple's cash.
Yeah.
You know,
They're like, so do we want to buy Starbucks for everybody in the world? Or
like for a year.
for a year, or do we want to just, I don't know, buy something else?
Well, to
how
me,
about
it's
Beats Audio?
like you say $3 billion, and Tim's searching through the cushions in the couch in his office
Right.
to pull out the money to be able to hand it over to him.
Right.
It's those insane numbers that just absolutely blow me away. But anyhow, this is not a tech show, although I would be fine with that because I'm a bit of a tech junkie. This is a show about the Christian rock genre and other things that are associated with it. You could say Beats headphones would fit into the Christian rock genre, except they're so bass heavy that they more fit on the rap side of things. But that's a whole nother discussion for another day.
Yes. And let's face it, no one who cares a lick about listening to us can afford Beats headphones anyway.
Yeah,
So
typically. Yeah, they're going with something, like either the white Apple earbuds like I'm wearing in my ear right now,
Right.
that I got free with my iPhone, or they're gonna buy something like $10 Sony's at Walmart, and they're not gonna care much about what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's what's funny to me is you think about the thing that was pointed out in one of the articles I read about that acquisition was the guy from Apple who's like in charge of their audio division or whatever was like, yes, we're very excited to be able to now own Beats Audio, and we hope that people when they buy an iPhone or an iPod would buy really good headphones to be able to enjoy the music on. Because, well, let's face it, the earbuds that come with your phone are really just so that you can check out to make sure that the headphone jack works.
right.
I'm like, what happened to all that stuff that was like the teaser when the iPhone 5 came out and they they were talking about the newly designed earbuds? Or like, and they have this and they have this. They have been redesigned for your comfort and sound. And I was like, yeah, they just want to make sure that the headphone jack works.
I think after Eddie Q said that, Johnny Ive walked into his office and slapped him across the face.
Shut up! We don't tell people that. Shut up!
Apple's dirty little secrets. Oh my goodness. Well, we do have a little bit of news to talk about. I guess Family Force 5 has come out with the artwork and the track listing for their new album, Paul. And based off our conversation earlier, you're not overly impressed.
Well, their album cover doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's weird. Sometimes I feel like they're trying maybe just a little too hard for one thing or another. And my impression was, it just takes me back to the era of Saved by the Bell. It doesn't remind me of Saved by the Bell as a show, but it kind of has that whole we just figured out how to use a computer graphic kind of thing. And I mean, it's very 90s looking, and that's fine. I mean, I grew up in the 90s. I like the 90s. I like the music from the 90s. Great 90s. 90s not so much great for the art world. It just wasn't good, and neither is the album cover. But I've never been a huge fan of many of their album covers. Like, I mean, their first one was just busy enough to be interesting. I think that their re-release when they did the Diamond edition of Business Up Front, Party in the Back was kind of classy looking just because it was so simple. But most of the other ones, I just am constantly going, I know that you guys must have an entirely different idea of what is good or appealing on an album cover than I do. And I'm totally willing to admit that. I think it's a taste issue, but to me, I just look at it and I go, that's just not good. But that's my opinion.
Let me ask you this, though. I mean, how much does album art drive sales? I mean,
I don't know.
You
Probably
really
not much at all.
That's my guess. Is that if it's a band that you're going to buy the album anyhow to check it out and see what they sound like. If it's a band you don't know, is the album art going to be the thing that keeps you from buying the album? And that's what I don't know.
I don't know about that either. But this is what kills me, though, is they're such a visual band. I mean, they've always worked at that. I mean, whether it meant that they were just all wearing really styling outfits, or now they, usually have a custom outfit for like each tour.
Right.
I mean, Crouton is kind of like a clothes designer on the side, and all of them are very fashion conscious. To me, with all that being the case, it seems like that would lead to very graphic conscious decisions. And I think that they feel like they're doing that. But at the same time, I think it feels like walking in on the middle of an inside joke.
Right.
You just are like, I know that there was an idea behind this, and I know that there's a reason why it's funny or cool, but it doesn't hit that way with me. And which is sad because I like the band, but I've never really been a huge album cover fan of theirs. And there's other bands that are like that too. I don't think there's many Project 86 album covers I've been that big of a fan of either. But
right.
It's just, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of one of those things where it basically just says, this was our opinion on this matter, and I'm different than most people, and that's okay. Or at least
it's like
different
for
than
Demon
me.
Hunter, all it has to have is the skull on the cover of
Right.
it, and then whatever else from there doesn't matter what the rest of the artwork is. As long as the skull's there, everybody's fine. It's an official Demon Hunter album because it has that.
Right.
And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that they've got a thing
Oh, yeah.
that they use, that when you're walking through the store and you see this, it's like, oh, look,
Oh,
that's
there's
Demon
a new
Hunter.
Demon Hunter. Right, yeah.
You know?
Which I always thought was kind of cool because, I mean, they've given themselves these parameters, which on first glance, you're like, wow, that's going to get really hard to keep interesting
Right.
after a while. And I think the furthest they ever got from the initial parameter was when they did World is a Thorn, where it was basically like the skull was there, but it was like on top of a castle, you know? It was a little bit harder to pick out. But, you know, I think that's still fine. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Family Force 5 is an awesome band. They put out some awesome music. I've just never agreed with their design aesthetic for album covers, which has nothing to do with anything. That's just my random opinion of the day.
Yeah.
So.
What is I want to know what the chat room thinks. You guys think that it's worth, like, does album art make a difference for you? Does it matter to you? Like, if it was a band you didn't know, would the album art be a selling point? I guess is what I'm trying to ask. Does album art matter to you guys in purchasing of an album? Now, a lot of times, I mean, we're talking about old school people walking through music stores and like actually purchasing hard copies. And with inventions like iTunes and Amazon and all of that kind of stuff, you can preview the music before you buy it. So it's kind of like you know what you're getting. And I mean, iTunes, I think it's like a minute and a half preview. That's like half the song that you get to listen to before you spend your money on it.
Right. Yeah. And for those of you, if you're wanting to see the album cover, I'm posting a link into the chat room.
Your link is censored because I have links turned off. So let me turn links on real quick.
Don't censor me, man. Don't censor me.
Okay, now you can do it. While you're doing that, Tom says, not anymore. Back in the CD days, yes, but I've been all digital for years.
Traitor.
So, says the guy who goes and buys records still and CDs.
Hey, it's still physical, man. It's still physical.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Tim says, only if you're submitting music to Broken FM does album art matter.
Yes, we can tell way too much about you from the amount of effort put into your album artwork or the lack thereof.
If you say you're a rock band and you're dressed like preppies standing out in the middle of a forest, odds are we're not going to be able to take you too seriously.
Yeah, or if your photo is taken on the steps in front of the podium of your sanctuary, you're probably not very good.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Once in a while, that's not the case.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you send me a CD and that's the main cover art, I'm gonna be like, yeah, one track is all you're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
One chance from that. That's all
you got one shot. Make it count.
Yeah.
If you had just one shot.
I was waiting for that.
One opportunity. Would you take it or would you let it slip? Yo.
I love how Eminem all of a sudden came from Brooklyn. You had one opportunity. Would it be Italian? Oh, you know it would be. Yeah.
Oh, man. So somebody went through and took that song and put Mom's Spaghetti into just about every single line. Like they re-edited it. They re-edited it so that every line said spaghetti at the end of it. It's like somebody has way too much time on their hands.
Yes.
So
that's lovely.
Oh, what's next in the newsy department there, Paul?
Well, one last thing on the Family Force 5 thing. I am excited that there are 15 tracks on the upcoming record. That leaves hope that at least some of them will be really solid. Yeah. And yay for that. Okay, other than that, let's see what else we have here. I feel like such a downer when I don't know. They just set the tone for this next record very oddly to me, but that's okay. On other news, Write This Down, one of my favorite bands, who Chris and I think a lot of people who just kind of assumed had just called it quits, disappeared, shuffled quietly into the night. Turns out they're almost done with a new record. They've been, been working on it, and they're going to be performing at Life Fest in Wisconsin. And they hope to have copies available to sell then, which will be July 12th. So I'm guessing sometime in the next month and a half or so, it sounds like they'll be having some new music for us. So I don't know. Apparently, they still don't have a label, but they're looking to do pre-orders sometime in the near future. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. Their last album was one of my favorites of all time at this point. It's just a really, really good record. If you haven't heard Lost Weekend, great record.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm excited that they're not only still together, but they're about to put out some new stuff, which we'll have to see what we can do about that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I like Write This Down. I think they've got a great sound. They've got a great thing going. So it is nice to know that they're still around. It just, so many bands come and go so fast in the markets nowadays. Or they just get lost in the shuffle. When you get summertime and you got albums coming out crazily, it's easy for stuff to get passed over, especially if it ends up just kind of sounding mediocre. So I'm really hoping that this is something that's really, really good that will continue to propel them forward. Tim says, I guess there's an Ilya comeback.
Yes, and I'm glad that he brought that up because we do need to mention that, and that's not even on Indievision yet. So good on you, Tim, for mentioning that. So Ilya apparently has rebuilt the band, at least to a certain degree, and I guess they have yet another lead singer. Because I can't remember her name, but the last lead singer they have parted ways with the last remaining founding member because they had a difference of opinion that they couldn't work out for whatever reason, and they never did really say what that was, but yeah, so they split up, and I think we all kind of assumed was like, well, there goes Ilya, But then again, this is not the first time that they've had a major lineup shake. So I guess the other two or other three members, because it used to be that their shtick was, we are an all-girl band. This is what this is. This is an all-girl band. Well, then when they lost one of three girls that they had that made up the band at the time, then they replaced them with two guys. And I'm guessing that the guys are the same. They look like the same dudes from before. But it looks like they mainly just replaced the lead singer. So apparently new stuff coming out soon. New single to hit sometime within the next, I think, 2-3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be cool. I'm curious to see how that goes. But at the same time, the other lead singer was so nice. And I have a hard time knowing exactly how I'm going to react to this new thing that is the new iteration of Ilya. Because I don't know. It's hard to imagine whenever you have this whole, like, we had a difference of opinion, we couldn't work it out. I mean, it just brings to mind, like, images of messy divorces or something. It never brings to mind good ideas, and you never quite know unless they start playing the blame game, who's at fault, or even then, do you really know? I don't know. But I hope it's still good, but at the same time, I think I'm going to have to overcome some maybe mental bias that I have at this point.
Well, I mean, I think the same could be said with Flyleaf. I have a mental bias against the new lead singer of Flyleaf because, quite frankly, she's not Lacey. So how is that going to play into when their album finally gets made and released? How is all that going to play into the overall sound? I mean, we've all known Flyleaf with a specific tone. And things are going to shift. I keep hearing, Paramore as a comparison. Paramore's fine, but I'm not like a huge Paramore fan.
Right. And Paramore doesn't stand out in a huge way. I mean,
no.
They do one thing really well, but it's not like you're going, oh, there's no one else who sounds like Paramore.
Right. Totally. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, we covered this with an episode a few months ago, just talking about, is change good? And sometimes change is good, and sometimes it's not. And I think it just depends on how you deal with the change. You look at mainstream bands like Journey, and they've gone through, I think, 2 or 3 lead singers. But they've always searched after someone who sounded close enough to the original that the fans would buy it.
Yeah.
That's been their big thing.
Yeah.
So, when you have that happen, you continue to endear yourself to the fan. They're going to continue to believe in you and buy albums and that kind of stuff because it's close enough to the original that they can get away with it.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm not at all against bands changing their sound and changing when they change the lineup. I think maybe that is a more authentic way to go, but at the same time, it is harder as a fan to be able to immediately jump on board and be like, yes, this is still what I like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Kirk says, so they might become para-less.
oh, dude. Oh, that hurt.
Oh, Kirk. See, guys, this is what you miss when you're not hanging out in the chat room. This is the kind of stuff that you don't get to see firsthand. So
What can we say? Less is more.
sometimes it is. Oh, my. Let me see. What else did we
Or
have?
could it be Paramore or less, you know.
Paramore or less? Yes. You could Paramore,
Or you
but
could
why?
It's perilous to keep going with it.
Yes, yes. All right. Moving on to other news.
Okay, so the Tooth and Nail documentary, which I think has been teased for way too long already, but it's called No New Kind of Story, which is kind of the back story of Tooth and Nail Records and kind of where they've been and talking to a bunch of the bands. I'm excited about this. I think it could be really cool. Apparently, they're about to start doing pre-orders, which I hate it when labels do this. They're like, "We're about to start doing things." It's
Yes.
like, quit teasing the fact that you're about to tease something. You know,
Coming soon to a theater near you.
the trailer for the trailer.
That's right.
That
Well,
will blow your mind. I don't know.
Like
I mean,
the trailer for the preview.
yeah. Well, I mean, they've done trailers for the documentary, which I think look really good. But I don't know. To me, it's like, why bother going through the effort of putting the word out that you're about to start pre-orders? Just wait until you got pre-orders.
Right.
But that's just a pet peeve of mine. So I'm not going to chase that rabbit.
What if you have to pre-order for your opportunity to pre-order?
Oh dear goodness, it's madness!
So that's log into this site, give us $5. That will secure your ability to pre-order, and then
hold the place in line.
in 6 weeks you can jump in and then actually pre-order the album, and then wait another 6 weeks, and then we'll ship the album to you.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Hey, I've seen dumber things work. That's
Yeah.
what's sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see. Minor other things. A band in Kansas apparently is about to hit the road with Scientist. I think they're going to be touring with another band first. I think it's one of those things where they're going to be touring with Scientist like on the second leg of a tour.
Okay.
And then the first leg is going to be someone. Let me see. I'm pulling up their page here. Oh, they're having a band called Last of the Wild Men, and then I don't know, and then after that, Scientist, and apparently they're going to be playing in a bunch of like Midwest and cities in the South and East Coast. So,
Interesting.
Suffice it to say, they're not coming anywhere near us.
Of course not.
So irritating. Oh well. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm excited that Scientist is going to get to tour with a band in Kansas. I think those guys will get along really well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's neat that Jeremy is actually getting back out on the road and touring. Now, he's supposed to be getting married very soon too.
Yeah.
So I think he's getting married before the tour starts.
Could be. This is in August, so I mean it's.
Oh yeah,
that
this is
makes
definitely.
sense.
There's. I think I was reading on his Facebook the other day that there's only a couple more weeks until they get married.
There you
So
go.
he's got a little bit of time, but it's always an interesting dynamic to see. You know, when you hear somebody's getting married that's in a band, and a band that typically spends a tremendous amount of time on the road, you're like, okay, how is this all going to affect what's going on? What decisions is he going to make now that he has this not only added responsibility, but added desire to stay home? You know?
Yeah. Well, that and also they don't have a label anymore either, so it's not like they have this kind of incentive, to keep doing more stuff because they have a label pushing them to do it. So
Right. They don't have a label anymore, and they lost their guitarist, Brad. He got married a year or so ago and left the band. So, I mean, there's a lot of changes in store for a band in Kansas. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what all ends up happening as they continue, whether or not they continue to do music or not. I think their EP did well enough to where they want to keep doing it, but whether they try to do it independently or other is is I think remains to be seen. Tim says our invitation must have been gotten lost in the mail. Oh, and Kirk says she's the bus driver. So there you go.
Oh.
It all works out in the end.
I love how Kirk thinks that they have a bus.
Yeah, I know. The last time Jeremy came, he was in like a 4-door sedan.
Right.
It was him and Joey Vannucci. They just showed up. The back seat was loaded with their gear, and that was it. It was like a 4-door sedan. So
See, I think that the bands who really have figured out how to make it work are like the individuals like Josiah James, who would tour for in a Prius everywhere. And I'm just going, you know what? With gas prices being as they are, that's the way to go.
well, if you could fit all your gear, I mean, that was before. He's got a band now, or at least he did for a while. So he'd have to trade up on the Prius unless he drives himself everywhere and they come behind him.
Yeah, well, I think the majority of his touring was just him, and then the band
It was
would be
for
there
a while.
Like, yeah, would be like if he was in a certain area, they would join him or whatever. And plus, he did finally get rid of the Prius. Evidently, it gave him all sorts of trouble over the years. Of course, I'm sure he just beat the wheels off that thing over all the miles he put on it.
400,000 miles on a vehicle. Oh, this thing's a piece of crap.
It's like, yeah,
Can't get 500,000 miles out of a car anymore. What's wrong?
right.
Kirk says,
Change the oil and everything, man.
Kirk says bus is a relative term. So
Yeah. If it will fit your band, it's a bus.
that's that's exactly right. Before that, they had a van that was all broken up in the front. Oh, I think that was the Golden Nugget, Tim? I think it's what Tim's referring to. One of the bands bought it was like a Toyota minivan,
Yeah.
and Tim saw a picture of it, and he dubbed it the Golden Nugget. And I don't remember if that was a band in Kansas or something else. That was a while ago. My goodness.
That sounds pretty right, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, it's completely possible. Do we have any other news things that we need to make everybody aware of? I mean, Pepsi released their new cans with the Christian artists on them, and I guess if you buy a can with that particular artist, it gives you a download of a song.
Right.
So you want to go down the list and tell everyone who's on the can. There's no rock artists that are on these cans, so it's maybe it's just of interest to some of you.
Well, it depends on who you are. If you are a soccer mom over 30, then these are all rock artists.
Excellent.
If you're one of us in this chat room or show, this is totally not anywhere near. But Britt Nicole, totally rocking, right? Is on Mountain Dew, which maybe she just likes Mountain Dew. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
To me, that just doesn't go together at all. But none of these really go together to me. But anyway, Casting Crowns is on Dr. Pepper. Josh Wilson, who Chris and I were both trying to nail down exactly who he was, is on Diet Pepsi. And then for King and Country, the boys from Australia are on the actual Pepsi can, which apparently was chosen, I think, by like fan votes. So that's kind of impressive, mainly that Josh Wilson ended up on Diet Coke, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he just really got out the vote on that. Because, I mean, we all know how that goes. I mean, it really is about what artist campaigns for it the most as to what's going to end up on there. It has nothing to do with just initial popularity. It's about who goes through the effort. So, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of cool. And don't get me wrong. It's very nifty that this idea exists in the first place. I'm happy for the idea, but at the same time, I'm just like, why isn't like Skillet or Red on one of these cans? You know,
I could see one of those guys being on Mountain Dew easily.
Oh yeah,
You know.
for sure. But apparently, the slogan is 25 million cans, 25 million new ways to change lives. Aw.
Oh,
So
how sweet.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't know. I'll just smile and nod, and
Yeah.
because I doubt they're going to be in stores in my area.
Right.
Like I could see this being kind of a Music City based thing. So, I mean,
yeah.
my preference is Pepsi anyhow. So if I saw them, I'd buy them just because I like Pepsi, and there you go. But
Yeah.
not going to be not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show.
And the fuse is lit, and now we're licking our fingers and snubbing it.
Oh my. Let's see. No other news. Nothing important.
No. Let's move on.
All right. We will. Where's my cursor? There you are.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
And a hard place. Music.
Seventh Day Slumber. We are the broken.
We are the broken.
They're back! When a friend or loved one goes away for a while, it can be hard to deal with. Even if you can talk on the phone or Skype during their little venture, it's just not the same. You long to see and hear them right in front of you, and that's how some fans of Seventh Day Slumber have felt over the last 5 years. The band that's been rocking together since the late 90s took a right turn at Worship Street and hung out there for a while. But like I said at the top, they're back with a solid rock release called We're the Broken. I won't say there was anything wrong with those 2 worship cover albums Slumber put out, because there were some real highlights from them, like the cover of White Flag for instance, but it just wasn't the same. Plus 2 back-to-back worship cover albums from arguably one of the best modern rock Christian bands will drive a fan to pace around the room a few times. And since 2009, we've been patiently waiting for a return to the vibes of records like Shattered Life or Finally Awake. On top of returning to their proper sonic form, 7DS have also left their former label, BEC Recordings, and have teamed up with VSR Music Group. And I'm purely speculating, but it's almost like the boys are free to do what they want to do. We're the Broken is filled with tight and heavy guitar riffs forged from the fires of the early 2000s, but at the same time sound current. Songs like Goodbye, Nothing to Lose, and In Too Deep are prime examples of this. The title track, We're the Broken, is an anthemic rock powerhouse that inspires its hearers to wave the banner of brokenness like a badge of honor. Because let's be honest, realizing your broken state is a good place to be and is the first step to true healing as we let Christ have control in our lives. Daytime CHR will love the ballad Trust in Me. It's the softest track on the album and kinda sounds like Casting Crowns, but Rojas' raspy voice gives it just enough edge to keep it rock. All She Wants is likely to be the next rock radio single. It meets each criteria: catchy lick, memorable chorus, and a story to tell. That one, or the cover of Demi Lovato's song Skyscraper. Speaking of stories, I need to state how gifted Joseph Rojas really is at writing lyrics. Rock isn't a genre known for telling stories well, and it's also a genre where imagery is often used to the point of no one knowing what you're actually singing about. But Rojas carefully crafts his lyrics to both paint a beautiful picture and clearly state what he wants to communicate. Throughout We Are the Broken, we're treated to incredibly encouraging messages with unmistakably spiritual lyrics that steer clear of cliches, showing us over and over again the Christ-centered pattern of brokenness and redemption. Now there's no way I can leave without bringing up my only beef with this record. It's way too short. You're hard-pressed to call it an LP because at 9 tracks, reaching just over a total of 31 minutes, it's nearly an EP with bonus songs. But at the same time, I credit the guys for not handing us some filler in order to reach some imaginary quota. All in all, We're the Broken is a solid and welcomed return to the Seventh Day Slumber fans have known and loved over the years. The really cool thing about this particular release is that it'll not only satisfy the longtime fans that have waited for the rock to come back, but younger fans that have jumped on the 7DS train during the worship phase will easily follow along. It's only the brevity of this record that causes me to dock it half a rock on the scale. I give We're the Broken by Seventh Day Slumber 4.5 rocks out of 5. For the Rock in a Hard Place podcast, I'm Tom Labonte.
Wow, 4.5 rocks out of 5. I think that is the best review that he has given an album so far.
Yeah.
I think that's the highest rating that he has done. If you want to know more about Tom Labonte, he is the host of The Edge on UCB Canada. You can tune in or check him out on ucbcanada.com and rockfortherock.net. As always, Tom, thank you so much for the review. Appreciate it. Kirk says that the album is good, and it has a solid sound, but he just can't get into it. He thinks he's getting too old. So,
Sorry.
Tom is correcting me. My Epic got 5 out of 5, so it's the second highest.
There you
So
go.
I have not heard this album yet, so I can't speak to how good or not it is. But I do love the single that that we're playing right now. "We Are the Broken." It's got a great sound to it, and of course, any song that has "broken" in it is going to be played a lot on Broken FM. It just kind of goes that way. So you know how it is.
Yes. Oh, by the way, total side note, but for those of you who are either watching the video version of this or on the stream currently, I was not scowling at the review. I was looking intently at my computer screen, and I realized after a while when I looked back at the delay, because I see things that happened like 30 seconds ago,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I just look mad. I'm totally not. I was looking at something else on my computer screen while I was listening to the review, and I'm like, oh no, I look like I just hate Tom. I'm like a stupid guy coming doing reviews on our show, talking about 7-Day Slumber. So, anyway, I promise I'm a happy person. I just tend to look like this whenever I'm reading stuff, and so it looks way too serious. Anyway,
So it's funny.
There you go.
There was a guy who went into an Apple store, and he put this little piece of software on that would record the camera on a bunch of different Apple computers. And then he went back in and copied everything out to a USB drive. And what he noticed is that like 95% of people, when they sit down to use the computer, there is no smiling involved in during their time. Like their faces actually frown, or their brows are furrowed, or something along those lines. It was really interesting. Or it was just kind of a blank stare as they were doing their thing. No expression at all during the time that they were using.
It's that concentration face.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Although I will fully admit to when I'm at work and I'm having to do stuff that, like, for whatever reason requires some sort of physical physical action of some sort, I tend to have my tongue out. I tend to do the Michael Jordan thing. It's not all the way out, but just a little bit. And then my coworkers come by and they're like, "Something tastes good?" I'm like, "Oh, shut up. I don't want to talk about it."
Tom says, so an ad started playing randomly, and then at the moment you guys popped back in to the screen, all I heard was Paul saying, "I hate Tom."
You'll have to go back and listen/watch the other bit so that you can catch the whole thing.
Oh,
but I promise that
man.
was taken out of context.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Timing is everything, people.
Timing is everything.
I will say this for those of you watching the live stream. If you download a free program for your browser called AdBlock Pro, it will get rid of those ads that take over your Ustream. So grab it, because those ads were driving me nuts when I was, a few weeks ago when I was trying to watch, because we watch the stream as we record so we can see what's going on in the chat room, make sure everything was looking okay. And it was frustrating for me to have these ads popping up. So I found that AdBlock Pro, which is, I'm using it on Google Chrome. It's also for Firefox and for Safari, depending on what web browser you use. It's available for all of those. And so you can download that and install it, relaunch your browser, and it'll get rid of all those ads.
Yes.
So I don't think Ustream should be making money off of us, but that's my own opinion. Well, the topic we wanted to talk about today is something that we see on a regular basis, especially being in this business, and it's the idea of it can be called one of two things. It can be called a best of, or it can be called a greatest hits.
Yes.
So I guess the first question that I want to ask, Paul, is there, in your opinion, a difference between a greatest of, or a best of, or a greatest hits?
Yeah, there can be. I think sometimes those terms get used interchangeably, but to me, a best of is usually more of it at least implies to me more of a, this is what the band or the label thought were the best tracks that this band has released up until now. And usually that also means up until now on our label. It's not always the case.
Okay.
But a good chunk of the time, that is what that can mean. A greatest hits usually means these are our singles. These are the ones that you heard on the radio over the past however long, usually on this label. So that's usually the difference for me. A lot of times they get used interchangeably. It just kind of depends on sometimes what the label is and what they want to label it with, essentially. So I don't know. I think a lot of times it's basically just the singles. But if it's a band that, say, hasn't had singles, then it's usually these are the ones that we think are the best, or these are the ones that fans clamor for the most, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I've never really thought that there was much of a difference between best ofs and greatest hits, personally. I always thought that they were just, two ways of saying the same thing. So it's definitely a different look at it for me. When you a best of or a greatest hits, to me, they've always felt like, hey, we've got a record deal, we've got one album left before we can get out of this stinking contract. Right. I don't want to write any new songs because I'm frustrated with the label or whatever. Let's just make a compilation album to fill it in and get it over with.
Yeah, and a lot of times that is absolutely, totally true. I mean, usually greatest hits albums are things that are driven by the label. And a lot of times you can tell when a label has been bought out because a lot of these will start cropping up out of nowhere. Like when Frontline got acquired or changed their name to KMG back in the day, all of a sudden there were a ton of greatest hits albums from all these bands that so a lot of them weren't even around anymore, but all of a sudden they're like, okay, we have this catalog. We're probably not going to sell, a ton of copies of Mad at the World self-titled album, but if we put a greatest hits together of all of the Mad at the World stuff, that's like all the stuff that people really want anyway, then then you should totally do that, because then we can sell stuff. It's basically just a way to repackage something that's already been made, spend very little money comparative to sending somebody to the studio to write and record new stuff, and be able to get something back out on the shelves. And it is crazy. And it's funny because talking about greatest hits, Kirk was talking about that Petra and Whiteheart have more best ofs and greatest hits than actual albums. I can't attest to the actual number as compared to comparing one to the other as far as how many there were best ofs to normal albums, but I did finally go and count Whiteheart's best ofs and collections. You will not believe this. Now, this includes at least one or two collections that are like, okay, well, this is a bunch of songs. Some of them are B-sides or demos, but still there's some of them that are still hits. Right. But, it's not a typical best of. So it does include a couple of those. But still, if you count up from all iterations of Whiteheart, best ofs and collections put together, they have 14. Is that not insane?
How many regular albums did they do?
I don't know.
Non-best ofs and all of that.
I don't know. I could count, but let me see.
I mean, I know Petra has a lot of best ofs or greatest hits or whatever. Petrified, the very best of Petra, and that kind of stuff. So I know there's a few of them that are out there. But Petra is one of the most prolific Christian rock bands of our time. So I mean, there's a ton of regular albums out there as well.
Yeah. And for Whiteheart too. I mean, they had a lot of them. Let me see here. I'm starting to count. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is not counting live albums.
Right.
10, 11, 12. Yeah, they only have 12.
12 regular albums and 14 best ofs or compilations.
And that's not including where they did like a collector's disc, which was just an excuse to do 2 albums on one CD.
Right.
Which was their self-titled and Vital signs together on one CD, because that was another way that they could repackage it once CDs actually became a thing. But yeah, I mean, and it's ridiculous. And I mean, like I think this was within a year, they had Attack, which was a best of. They had Nothing But the Best Radio Classics, which was mostly their ballad stuff.
Right.
Nothing But the Best Rock Classics. All that was between 94 and 95. And if you go back one more year, you can go to 93, and they had Quiet Storm, the ballads, which I think is hilarious.
Quiet Storm.
And see, it's for moments like this that you really wish there were infomercials for Christian rock albums, especially that far back, because I would have so loved to have watched that over and over again. Quiet Storm from Whiteheart.
Yeah.
Get all of the songs that you love. Grab your loved one and sway with your lighter in the air to let your first thought be love. Jerusalem, walking in the light. Walls, listen to the lonely. They're all here. Quiet Storm on Home Sweet Home Records.
Order
Hitting
today,
record stores.
only $19.95 plus $5 shipping and handling.
Or 5 easy payments of $199.
It's like a Time Life epic.
And it's just so funny to think of this, but I mean, it really is just an excuse for people who, to me, I think the marketing goes two or three ways.
Yeah.
One, you're thinking, okay, this is a band that fan A has loved for a long time, but they grew out of them. They gave or sold all their music because they didn't have room, but now they're starting to feel nostalgic. They don't want to rebuy all that stuff, so we're going to sell them the best stuff. That's fan A.
Right.
Fan B, they've heard of them before. They've got $20 in their pocket. They don't know what to buy. They've heard of Whiteheart, but they don't want to buy all those records. Best stuff seems like a pretty safe way to go. Or fan C, the nut, who is like, I must own everything that has Whiteheart stamped on it. I don't care if every song on there is one that I already own. Gotta have it.
Which is where
so
Paul would fall.
for Whiteheart.
For anything.
Oh,
Mr.
no.
I go buy records.
I love how you think it's so weird that I buy vinyl.
It's 2014.
I know, and vinyl is the only music sales that are rising.
Oh, my word.
It is true.
Oh
Over the
my.
past 5 years, the sales of vinyl have gone up. Everything else is plummeting. Even MP3s plummeting because everyone's
Yeah.
like, I can get it for free.
Well, and that's a whole nother ball game.
Yes,
think,
it is.
I think that's there's other issues involved with that, but I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with greatest hits albums or best of albums because if it's a band that I already know, odds are I've bought all the albums.
Right.
And I could just go through my iTunes and load all the greatest hits that,
Into
in
a
my
playlist.
opinion, are the greatest hits. I could load
Right.
them all up into a playlist and put them on my phone and drive around in my car and listen to it. Why do I need to spend another $10 or $15 to
Right.
re-download music that I already have? That then, as I'm going through and searching, I end up with like 12 copies of because it's on 16 different albums.
Right. Well,
You
and
know.
see, that brings me to what I think is the biggest cutting point on best of collections. To me, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. The wrong way is we did nothing. We created new album artwork. We went and got the 10 to 15 biggest songs from this band. We chunked them on an album. Present for you.
Yeah.
That's not a way to do it. Now, I made a list of some greatest hits albums that I think did it right. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but one of the better ones, I think, was Bleach. And now, to my knowledge, their audiovisual best of album, I don't think it includes any new songs, but it didn't include a live concert DVD packaged with it.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. To me, that's the way to do it. It's like give people something else that they
Right.
don't have.
Right.
Bride, of course, big metal band, Bride did Shotgun Wedding, which was their greatest hits album, which included 3 remixes, and it was just all the stuff that was basically released on Star Song and then Pure Metal, which was, I think, like a sub-label of Star Song at one point. So, I mean, that was cool. I love remixes on best of albums.
Right.
The only thing that's a bit of a cutting point with me on that is it almost feels like they should have the normal version and the remix version because it's if it's a remix of a greatest hit, it's still not quite being true to what it's stating it is.
Right. It's a
But
different
I
song
like-
in theory.
Right. And the other good thing is when it's not a remix, like Audio Adrenaline's Adios had 2 brand new songs that had never been released before. And Blaze of Glory is a pretty good song off that. But of course, Goodbye is one of the most gut-wrenching songs in Christian history. It's just a great song and makes me turn into a blubbering idiot every time I hear it. But, and that was really cool. And other bands have done it right that way with having new songs, like Living Sacrifices In Memoriam had 3 new songs that had never been released and were never released anywhere else. So it wasn't like they just landed on the next album.
Yeah.
And then there's ones where you can tell this went wrong and it went right. For Guardian, they released this. I just think is hilarious. They released Smashes, which was their best of that they released in 1999. It had 18 songs on it, including 5 remixes.
Okay.
That's the way to go. But then the label got purchased by Word and Curb and all that good stuff. And then they did the definitive collection 8 years later. And talk about an excuse to re-release stuff.
Yeah.
8 years later, they released the definitive collection, which has 10 songs on it. All but 1 are on Smashes.
Okay.
But it's 10 songs versus 18. No new material, no remixes, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just the 10 of their biggest songs, and only one of them isn't on their other greatest hits album, which
See,
has all of these remixes.
And odds are to me that Guardian had nothing to do with that last one. Was
nothing.
We just bought this catalog. Let's go through and see where we can make some money to make up what we just spent on this label. And so they're going through and they're like, oh, Guardian, people still like them, I'm sure. So let's put a compilation together and throw it out there. And Guardian all of a sudden gets this residual check in the mail for some of their copyright stuff and royalties and all of that. And they're like, what the heck is this? Oh, I guess there's a new compilation out there. Well, alrighty then. Thanks for the payday.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it's so funny to think about, bands like Whiteheart and even and Petra and all these other bands that just have so many greatest hits out there that it almost gets confusing because there are more of them than their actual albums.
Right.
And you just don't quite know what to do with it. But, I also like it when they dig up stuff that was never previously released. Like on both of the Steve Taylor greatest hits, both of them had songs that were done before, but were just never released for whatever reason.
Right.
Or maybe were released as a B-side on a single or something like that. And I thought that was really cool.
Well,
and then
I think
also,
they did that with like Rich Mullins. He had they did kind of a greatest hits, but they also found some tapes that of stuff that he had recorded that he hadn't mastered yet. Like they were still
the Jesus record.
Yeah, they were still kind of in that phase of he was working out the details on them and things, and they released those, and some of those songs were fantastic just the way they were.
Right. Well, because there was never a huge production element to his greatest stuff anyway.
True, but you could definitely tell a difference between
all about songwriting.
You could tell a difference between these recordings versus the mastered stuff that he'd sell in the store.
Oh yeah.
Matt says if I'm new to a band, I'll usually get a greatest hits first to see what they've done over the years. So that makes sense. Absolutely. Kirk says you buy the 2 new songs that they add on iTunes. So you just go to iTunes, look at the greatest hits album. Okay, I have all of that. Oh, look, I don't have these 2. And the problem is with that idea, Kirk, is that sometimes the way that they sell the rights to iTunes is there are some songs that are only available if you buy the entire album.
Yeah.
And that to me is frustrating. It's like, I have to spend all this money for 2 stinking songs. It's that kind of stuff that I think pushes people over the edge towards piracy to just get those 1 or 2 songs, because it's like, I don't want to buy the entire album. I just want those 2 tracks, but it says it's only available if I buy the album. That to me is frustrating.
Right. Now, another idea that I think would be fantastic that's only been done once to my knowledge that would be the way to go, at least in one direction on a greatest hits record. I think Stryper's Second Coming is the way to go. You got a couple of new songs, but then you've got them going in and re-recording the greatest hits that they, or at least the songs that they really like, that they wanted to see updated.
Right.
To me, that's the way to go, because you're giving people, okay, these are the songs that they're known for. Yes. Is it a slightly different version? Yes. So I mean, you're getting to hit it from both ends. You're getting to say, okay, the fans will love it because it's something a little different, something they haven't heard.
Do you
and
know
for the people who aren't fans, it's a good introduction to the band.
Do you know why they did that?
Oh yeah, because they needed to re-up the
They needed to
copyright on it.
They needed to regain the copyright because
Yeah.
the label that they had originally recorded all those tracks on actually owned the copyright, and Stryper could not do what they wanted to with their own music, so they had to re-record it in order to obtain the rights for them to be able to do what they wanted to with those songs. And I mean, that's the kind of thing that just seems ridiculous. That to me is like a broken copyright system when the artists and bands who create the music don't own the music. It belongs to a label and they have to jump through all these hoops in order to make it happen. That kind of stuff is just like, seriously? Really? I mean, come on now.
I mean, it's frustrating. I get it, but at the same time, it is frustrating. But I mean, despite the circumstances that had to lead to it, I wish bands would do that, and I get why they don't. Because on some level, it's like we are so sick of playing these songs. We play these songs every tour. We know what they sound like now, and if you actually got off your butt and came to our concert, you'd know too. But when it comes down to it, that's the kind of things that hardcore fans eat up. I mean, I'm not even like a big Stryper fan. I enjoy their music, but I'm nowhere near an avid Stryper fan, and I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I wish more bands would do that, because inevitably, as soon as you get done, even within 6 months of putting out a record, a band is going to figure out some things that they wish they might have done differently.
Yeah.
And they change it up for live concerts and stuff like that. And you get that opportunity to revisit those songs. And I think that that music would be a whole lot more interesting if bands either, for whatever reason, did what Stryper did, or maybe say you've got a band like Scientist who just like, we're going to do our song a dozen different ways, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm down for that too. But I don't know. To me, doing that with new material and or remixes is the way to go, because I don't want to be that guy who, like, don't get me wrong, I own the Guardian Definitive Collection, but it was $1. You know, right. I didn't really feel like I was losing much. It was $1. But when it comes down to it, other than that, I don't want to be the person who's walking through a thrift store or a bookstore or a Best Buy and be like, ooh, that's really cool, but I've got everything.
Right.
I don't want to buy it, you know, but you give me something that has some exclusive material, then there you are. Or even like, even aside from music, Now the Truth Can Finally Be Told, or I guess it's just The Truth Can Finally Be Told. The Steve Taylor Greatest Hits that was everything before his Squint album, had a booklet, and it was a thick booklet, and he went through and explained each song and told like little stories from this period of his career. And that in and of itself was almost worth the cost of the record, even though there was only like, I think, 2 new tracks that were on it. But it had cool packaging, it had a cool booklet, and then there was also a video version of it that was like a greatest hits videos. And I thought that was really cool. And it had unreleased stuff on it.
So your idea
I just
basically
like the extra stuff.
Yeah, you want the extra. It's not so much that greatest hits albums are good or bad. It depends on how they package them, what you get alongside with it. You know, a DVD that's behind the scenes is something that would be interesting to see. You know, I could almost see if I don't know how much of this happens, but if there was a lot of filming that went on during the original creation of the album, I could see a repackaging of the original album even, and accompanying a DVD that shows a lot of studio time and different aspects of what was going on at the time that they recorded albums. I think you can see that nowadays happening with everybody having cell phones and you know, video cameras built into their phones and that kind of stuff. You could see that happening a lot more often nowadays. But you know, I'm sure that some of this stuff, you know, old Stryper recordings in studios, somebody had to have some kind of a big, you know, shoulder mount VHS camcorder or something.
Betamax.
You know, I mean, it would make sense to me to see that kind of stuff. Get it in, get it digitized, edit it up, and throw it out there with a newer copy of the album, and I think you would definitely get some people that would spend the money on to buy it.
Right, and then of course the kind of the new wave, at least that Tooth and Nail tried for a little bit, and I don't know how much it really worked. But this isn't really a greatest hits album. But they got to where they would maybe package like 3 of the band's biggest records together and sell them as a collection.
Yeah.
And would have individual discs, but really it was like you were buying it all together. But it felt like they put more effort into it than the old school days where it was KMG and they're like, this is 2 albums on one record. Here's the album cover here, and then overlaid over it slightly, and in the other corner is the other album cover, and it looked tacky, and you just felt like you were selling out to buy it.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
there was just it was like buying a generic brand soda. You're just going, it's gonna taste the same, but man, it's gonna look and feel stupid, you know. And it doesn't feel right. But I like what Tooth and Nail did with it, and in that they actually gave it a full new name. They came up with some, the band or the label would come up with something catchy to call it, and it would be like, okay, I became a fan after this period, and I want all these. So instead of going out and buying them for like $10 to $15 a piece, or maybe getting lucky finding them on a clearance rack for $7 a piece, instead I can buy all 3 of them together for 20. And to me, I thought that was a great idea. It's not really a greatest hits, but it's a collection, and I think
Right.
that that's kind of interesting as well. And once again, that's something that usually I'm not going to buy because I already have it. They did it for Demon Hunter, they did it for Hawk Nelson, they did it for Under Oath, they did it for Norma Jean. And I think that's a great idea. It's a good way to be able to make music more available while still getting some cash coming in for a very expensive ordeal that is putting out any record.
Yeah, totally. Well, let us know what your thoughts are about greatest hits or best ofs. You can shoot us an email to rockinahardplacepodcast@gmail.com. You can leave a comment on our Facebook page. You can leave a comment on our website, rockinahardplacepodcast.com. And, of course, the Facebook page is facebook.com/rockinahardplacepodcast. I guess the ultimate question is greatest hits or best ofs. Do you buy them? If so, why? Let us know what your answers are. We would love to hear your opinion on the subject. We've definitely gotten some opinions from the chat room as far as that's concerned, so that's awesome. Love it. So anybody else out there that wants to let us know.
And while you're there,
type it. Yeah.
While you're there, let us know your best ofs.
Yes.
Or worst of best ofs.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely. Absolutely. The worst of the best of.
That's right. That's right.
funny. Or the best of the worst.
Yeah.
You could really go along. You could do quite a bit with that.
We could get some mileage out of this one.
I know. My mind is reeling right now, just trying to think about all the possibilities.
Now, here's a question. Do you think it would be at all viable just for Goose to have... You couldn't get away with doing it physical copy because physical music doesn't sell that well anyway, but as a digital thing, I think it would be hilarious to see a label say, this is this band's worst songs, all put together on one album just for you.
Isn't that what B-sides are?
Oh, well, I guess technically that's true.
Song wasn't good enough to put on an album or on an A-side.
But you're dumb enough to buy it.
But if you'll buy it as a B-side, then we'll try for it. Oh, my goodness.
Well, which is true, and sometimes that can be good, and sometimes it can be bad. Like I still haven't gotten the House of Heroes one. It's all B-sides and EPs and remixes all combined into one, and I really want to, but I haven't got a chance.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it.
The Rock in a Hard Place podcast presents
The one and the only.
All right, boys and girls, get ready for
The Stew.
It is time for The Stew, and The Stew this week has no theme whatsoever. Why?
Really?
Because I made it like, I don't know, 2 a.m, and I found the movie that I wanted to use, and I couldn't think of anything to go with it. And so I was like, okay, I got the movie, want to use this movie, couldn't find any songs that felt like they fit with it in any way, and I tried to do this stuff came out the same year, but it was 1986. 1986 wasn't a great year, at least that I could find for the most part, and so I was like, this is turning into too much work. I don't care. This is just as Dave, my buddy who worked alongside me with the Christian Music Archive stuff, whenever there wasn't a theme for a week, he would call it potpourri. So this is the potpourri episode. It has no theme whatsoever. I guess if you were to, you could probably make up something, but really there's not intended to be a theme at all. So 3 songs, 1 movie, 2 clips from the same movie. Chris has to figure it out. And of course, he does get bonus points if he can figure out the names of the songs as well as the artists. But of course, one or the other will work. And of course, the movie I don't know. I have high hopes that this will bring back a lot of goofy memories for a lot of people. So we'll see.
All right. Well, here we go. The stew number 13 right here.
Input.
Now take you apart, find out which screw is loose.
Apart. Undone. Dismantle. Dissect. Disassemble.
Come on, watch this way. March, heel, giddy up. Forward.
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 Come forward. That's good.
I think I got all of them.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm very excited. Let's see if you did.
Okay, hang on. I'm finishing writing now to make sure that I have everything down. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Chris is writing, everybody.
yes, here
Pad
we
and
go.
paper.
My
Pad
my
and paper.
answers are.
Okay.
Number one. See, I got my book with my.
Okay.
I'll even show the audience my answers. Ooh.
right.
Okay. So song number 1, I have "Sinking" by Blood and Water.
Oh yes.
Song number 2, I have "Dear X" by Disciple.
Okay. For extra bonus points, what is the subtitle? of
You
that?
Don't Own Me.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right.
Okay. And song 3, "Chemicals," and you could say "Love and Death" or "Brian Head Welch."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because it was released under both, right?
Either
Okay.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
And the movie is "Short Circuit."
Nice, clean sweep, my friend. See, Short Circuit is one of those movies that I think you either have seen, remember, and love, or you've never heard of it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of those that is hysterical, especially the Indian guy with all the sexual innuendo jokes.
That was one of the things that I almost pulled. It was like, thank you very much. It was great hanging out with you. I enjoyed throwing you on the ground repeatedly, ma'am.
Yes, exactly. Oh, so funny. So funny. My goodness, good old 80s movie. Johnny Five is alive.
That's it. Dead. Ah!
Yeah.
And it's funny now looking back at it because it's interesting to see how much of the design of that robot in particular helped feed into Wall-E.
Oh, totally. As soon as I saw Wall-E for the first time, I was like, oh, I know where they got the face.
Right. And of course
So-
the treads and everything. It was such a funny movie.
Exactly. I can't recommend it for all audiences. You know, parents watch it. If you think it's okay, you can let your kids watch it. I want to say it was PG at the time. I don't even think it was PG-13.
I think it was PG.
So
Let me see. I've got some.
It's been a
info about
long time. Been a long time.
it. It has been a long time.
Kirk, I see that you got the movie, but did you get any of the songs at all? I know Tim got all the songs. Tim had to have gotten all the songs.
Tim, if you didn't get the songs, you're fired.
No. No.
It was PG. It was
Okay.
PG.
All right.
Yeah, it came out in 1986.
Yep. That's let's see, 1986. So that was the year I graduated from 8th grade.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah. Now here's what's funny. I'd totally forgotten Steve Guttenberg was the male lead in that.
Yeah. Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy.
Yeah. Now I don't remember Ali Sheedy from other things.
The Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, The Breakfast Club. Okay.
She was the goth girl or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was also in War Games and
Yes.
St. Elmo's Fire. Wow.
Yes. She was in like all of those. That's why they called it the Brat Pack. It was like Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, and all of those guys together. Is it Judd Nelson?
and Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, I said Emilio Estevez
Oh,
already,
sorry.
but that's okay. You know, it just shows that you weren't paying attention. Kirk got 2 of the songs, so I'll give you a thumbs up there, Kirk. Now, Kirk also did say that if we wanted to talk about the worst of the best of, he says Carmen's whole collection.
Tell us how you really
The
feel.
man's dying of cancer, Kirk, and you got to go there? Really? Really? I'm so disappointed.
hope you feel terrible now.
And Tim said he got all of the songs, so his job is safe. Tim, trust me, even if you didn't get them all, your job would still be safe.
They would figure out a way for you to work it out.
I am not taking over that side of the station stuff. It's just no. Program director, my goodness, that is a thankless job that is insanely time consuming.
Yes.
So I'm not going to go there. Hey, Paul, did you find any Noise Trade stuff this week?
I did. As a matter of fact, I was doing that very early this morning as well. And I ran across some stuff that I have liked before, but I didn't know was on Noise Trade. So one of them is that, and one of them is something that's somewhat new. I'm going to go for the old one first. Of course, their lead singer is now the bass player and backup singer for Disciple. High Flight Society's last offering called Par Avion, which is a great little EP, is on Noise Trade. And, of course, it contains their best song ever. I know that they hated this because this was like a song that didn't really represent them well as a band overall, because none of their other stuff was this heavy, and evidently they didn't plan to go anywhere near this direction if they were to have released another record, which makes me a little sad because this song is rocking. This is from the Par Avion EP. Inhaling a Bullet is the song, and I just love the song. Here we go.
There's nothing left, it's in your fan. I cannot breathe without inhaling a bullet. God knows I've tried. It could be talents in my face and it's okay. But now it's time to put this to an end. So that I can breathe again.
I love that song. I don't know why they didn't like it that much, but I think it's a great song.
It's in rotation on Broken. Yeah. We play
as well it should be.
Yeah, we've been playing it for a long time.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And this is what's even more sad. I think that song did better than any of their other songs as a single. I mean, so they're like, oh, you like that, huh? We're never going to do that again. Yeah. Never going to happen. And then, of course, the band, I think, more or less dissolved, and then he went and joined Disciple, which is great. Now, he's also the dude who they were like, well, Kevin says, we've gotten him in the band now, and he sings better than I do. Which I was going, really? It's like, I mean, you have to be really secure as a lead singer to come out and say stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a great track, and if you want the rest of the Par Avion EP, including that one, go to noisetrade.com and search it out. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there is a band that's been around for a long time. They're from Texas, and they're one of those bands that I followed, but I'm not like a gigantic fan. But there's some good stuff on this record. It's a sampler, really. But it includes one of their latest songs called Currents. This is Isley. I tried to talk through a burp and it didn't work. Usually I can do that pretty well. I'm a little rusty there. I'm used to being able to edit that out. So anyway, but Isley, this is the song Currents off the Currents and More sampler. It's kind of quirky, but I like it. See what you guys think. Of a more indie rock version of Sixpence None the Richer, but good stuff though. I like it. Yeah, and cool. Of course, their name does come from Star Wars, so you can't get too down on them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Anyway. So yeah, you can grab both of those off of noisetrade.com, both High Flight Society and Isley, and Isley is EISLEY. And Kirk is a fan, so
yes,
that's
he
good.
is. So that makes it all worthwhile.
Right. So you gotta check that out and enjoy it as the best as you can. But anyway, we'll have more of those next week. I found a couple of other albums that I was like, ooh, that's good. I didn't know this was on Noise Trade, and you can grab it for free. So we'll keep you up to date on that. And who knows, maybe one of these days Noise Trade will actually pay attention to us, and they'll be like, ooh, you know what? You're a good advertisement for our website. Here, have loads of money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna happen, but it's a nice thought. I dream about it sometimes,
Oh my. Let me see here. Matt says, I don't think I'll be playing that on my show. Yeah, Matt does a hardcore show, so that won't quite fit with his audience. That's for sure. Yeah. And Kirk says that one of them is married to the drummer of Mute Math.
Oh, nice.
So a little trivia, little bit of a trivia piece right there. Anything else, Paul? I think that about does it for us today.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good too. I mean, it's been a decent week. Nothing major has happened. No new As I Lay Dying debacles, and we had a solid topic and we executed, and we didn't have to have a ton of clips or anything. So,
no, exactly. It was just well done.
I enjoyed it.
And only an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So about normal size episode today. Woohoo! So, well, I guess that's going to do it for us then. If you want to contact us, you can do so easily, as we said earlier in the show. rockinahardplacepodcast@gmail.com. You can email us there. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/rockinahardplacepodcast. Or our website, rockinahardplacepodcast.com. You can search us out on YouTube and watch the video if you are so inclined. And every week we do a live stream on Ustream. So you can search us out at ustream.tv, or you can go to our Facebook page and just click the link, and it will automatically take you to the room. Now, I want to make this very clear. Next week we will be recording on Thursday. Yeah. Because I'm going camping next weekend, and there won't be internet sufficient enough for me to be able to do what I need to do. Well, besides that, my wife would kill me if I were podcasting while we were out camping. So we are going to record Thursday. Paul is going to confirm that for me this week, and so we'll post it up if it's absolutely certain. But Thursday, 9 a.m., typical start time. So be there. Tom, that means I need the review Thursday. Just so you know.
Thursday.
Let me see. Oh, Tim says that there's an interesting interview from Bad Christian with the guy who did the Tim Lambesis interview. So if you guys want to listen to that, check out the Bad Christian podcast. That's the guys from Emory. So you can check them out and see what's going on there. So there you go. We're done. I'm Chris Cooner.
And I'm Paul Gibson.
Yay, Paul Gibson. And you know what? I think maybe we'll see you next week. Thursday.
Yo!
Thursday. Thursday.